Uncertainty in life, especially surrounding income, I think that's led to more and more people entering the trading world. And like anything, it doesn't happen overnight, right? Learning to trade, I think it's a lifelong process. And you modify and you improve the trading systems and strategies that you're using pretty much forever. But there is a point where you actually become profitable more often than not. And to get to that stage, well, that requires work. And if you're thinking of trading, I got a free PDF here about price patterns, just a few of them that actually have an edge in the market because they are based on how the market actually moves. And you can download it. There's a link above or there's a link in the description. Just click that and you can grab that. So my question for you, how many hours do you spend or did you spend on your quest to learn to trade? From the price action and price structure indicators all the way to risk management and trading psychology, how much time? And remember, when it comes to learning anything new, or even to just refresh what you already know, the quality of your study over quantity is really key. And there's an art to learning to trade. And there are two distinct ways that we learn, and both of them are needed to begin to not only understand, but also to master what you're studying. And the first one is called focused learning. And this type of learning is what you're doing as you sit and you work through your charts or you read up on the market. That's intense. And you can't confuse that with checking emails while you're studying, okay? Multitasking, that's not the preferred way of studying anything. So during this intense type of learning and digging into the material, you're using what they call working memory. So I want you to think of working memory like a pad of paper that only has a few sheets. There is a limited amount of information that it can hold. So the problem is that much like your pad can run out of paper, you can actually only store so much information in the working memory. So after a while, your intense focused learning simply becomes wasted effort, as what you began with at the beginning of your study, it becomes scattered. So this is when other stages of learning comes into play. And the second one is called diffused learning. And diffused is the opposite of focused. And this is where you allow your brain to piece together everything that you've learned. Think of this as closing down your computer and just going for a walk or grabbing a coffee. In the background, your brain is sorting through all that information that you've been studying as you learn to trade. So I'm sure a lot of you have experienced going to bed thinking what the solution to a problem might be. And when you woke up, you had the answer. Well, that is the diffused process of your brain going to work. And this process has a huge impact on your ability to learn whatever it is that you set your mind to. So what does this have to do with trading? Well, a lot, actually. Limiting your study time. When you sit for hours, really, in front of your screens or diving into books or trading tip blogs, we can compare that to cramming for the final test in school. Cramming is not the way to go into the testing center ready and able to pass that test. It's also not the way to learn what you need to know to enter the trading world. Well, why? When learning to trade or learning anything, you want to learn in bits and pieces repeated over time and not in one intense session. Yeah, you can understand the material at any point, but it's not an understanding that allows a practical application. So if you were designing a trading system, how long could you sit and evaluate these types of outputs before you miss something? Too often in trading, people suffer from illusion of competence. What that means is they think because they understand the concept, they can immediately apply it. So this is one of the reasons that a lot of traders jump in with real money long before they're ready. And the results, well, we know that does not end positive in the long run for many people. These bits and these pieces all assembled is what makes up the knowledge of trading that we retain and we can hopefully eventually implement. But to focus on learning how to trade, that's not the best route either. That's the end result of what you're doing. But in between the beginning and in the end, there are a whole lot of steps. That's where your attention should go. And that's called just one step at a time. So let's take an idea where as part of your trading, you want to learn all about certain trading patterns like chart pattern triangles or trading systems like the Golden Cross. The pattern or the average cross is just one piece of the puzzle. And instead of focusing on the big picture, you dial down into understanding the pattern or whatever and each of those components. You'll learn the why behind it. You learn what a failed pattern looks like. You learn about placing your stops. You learn bits and pieces of the trading pattern, chunks, and over time they come together in a cohesive structure in your mind where you will be able to point out one on a chart without a whole lot of effort. And you then repeat the practice of finding them on your charts over and over again in the days ahead. And when you find them, you set the chart in replay mode and you walk through trading them. So think of the replay of the chart as testing yourself. You find the pattern, you set up the trade, and you walk through bar by bar. Constant testing of what you're trying to learn is another key to actually learning and mastering the topic. And soon, like this, you are going to have a wealth of data to evaluate to discover if your approach to trading has any type of edge going forward. And over time, you become good at trading your approach where there is no second thought. You learn all of that under the umbrella of learning how to trade. Now look, it can be daunting if you look at all that you need to do to learn in order to have a chance of being an effective trader. So take it one piece at a time, but no cramming. Burying your head into the computer screen for hours and days on end, that's not the best approach. And this is where the Pomodoro Technique comes into play. And this is a simple idea. You break your learning into 25-minute segments, and then you take a break. Focused learning, and that's what you're going to be doing with the Pomodoro Technique. It's intense, and it can be a huge brain drain. By committing to devoting 25 minutes, that's it, of intense focus to a topic, you're only part way to getting the information into the longer term memory where it can actually be useful. 25 minutes, take a break, or end your session, go about your day, and know that in the background, the diffused mode of learning has taken over. So what do you do with what we just talked about? Well, you understand that learning's a process and you can't force it. You have to approach your trading education in a systematic way. And you have to ensure that when that time is supposed to be for learning, that's exactly what you do. But you don't do it for too long. Use the Pomodoro timer to limit your focus mode of learning to 25 minutes of uninterrupted focus. Leave your workspace for a time to allow the diffused mode to begin to process and piece together what you've been focusing on. And test yourself. You're learning a new pattern you want to trade? Draw it out, marking all the essential components, including where the pattern shows up on a chart. Are you learning about a bias that affects how you trade? Well, test yourself by writing out what you're learning after you spent time studying it. Walk through charts step by step. Watch what the behavior of price is around key zones. For example, you could draw out support and resistance lines on key swings. As price moves towards those zones, draw out what could happen. Advance price bar by bar while adjusting your hand-drawn chart and account for all the different scenarios. And take care of yourself. Do not neglect your health. Studies have shown that during the day, metabolic toxins build up in your brain, and they're only flushed out during sleep when your brain cells actually shrink. Running on empty for too long can cause less than optimal learning conditions. Regular exercise can also increase your ability to learn. And another thing you can do as you learn is to either set yourself up with a trading company that's reputable or find trading groups in your area. Schools have study groups for a reason. So oftentimes that we get so hooked on one trading process that we ignore others. Group work, that can help you break out of one way of thinking and open the door to new possibilities. Schedule your study time as a routine and seriously consider some of what we just talked about. So don't think that understanding equals mastery, and give yourself plenty of time to really understand and be able to implement all that you're learning. Learning to trade takes time, and give yourself that time because the markets are always going to be here.